I'm Ron Covell, and I've been very pleased to work with the Trick Tools company on developing a high-end set of hammers and dollies. This set has 5 hammers of the types I use most often and my 5 favorite dolly shapes. They're made of drop-forged tool steel, and they come with a very nice finish on them. There's actually a new wrinkle to this line. We've just added a hammer that has a medium crown face, and this is ideal if you need to work in a concave area or if there's a place where you need to stretch metal a super heavy amount. So they come with an attractive red finish, and it's an excellent place to start if you're just getting into metal fabrication. There's also a slap hammer, and this is my favorite tool for smoothing lumpy metal. It has a very large low crown face, and you might think of this as walking with snowshoes. So what do snowshoes do? They spread your body weight over a large area so you don't sink into soft snow. This does a similar thing with metal. Because of the large low crown face, it spreads your hammering force over a large area and makes it easy to make lumpy metal smooth. So this is another great product I've developed with Trick Tools. It's a backstop for a shrinker and stretcher, and I'll show you how it works. So these shrinkers and stretchers have been around since the 1940s. They're a standby for all metal workers. They either shrink metal by gathering it or stretch it by pulling it apart. And the way they come from the factory, they can shrink up to 1-inch depth. And there certainly are times when you want to shrink the full depth. But more often I find that it helps to shrink a partial depth, and that's what this backstop allows you to do. Let's say we want to shrink 3/4 of an inch deep. I can set the backstop to that position, and then it limits how deeply the metal can go into the machine. So let's make a pass across the edge of this panel at the 3/4 inch depth. And you can see it's certainly making the metal move. I'll pull this out in just a second so you can see the result. So we have a low crown curve in this direction and a low crown curve in that direction. If we want to accentuate this curve, it can be helpful to drop this down so we're only shrinking about 1/2 inch deep. So let's take a look at what that does. So shrinking 1/2 inch deep gives us more curvature in both directions. And let's go to a 1/4 inch depth, and you'll see that accentuates it even to a greater degree. So now you can see how we have a gradually increasing curve that gets greater as it reaches the edge of the metal. So that's how it works with the shrinker. Let's take a look at the stretcher now. I have this set to 1/2 inch depth, and let's just stretch along this edge and you'll see what the result is. One of the things you might use a stretcher for is correcting errors you made when shrinking. If you over shrink an area, you can stretch it back out. But also, if your goal is to create a reverse curve, the stretcher is a very good tool to do that. So I'll make one more pass on this edge and show you what's going on. So this is a reverse curve, or a ducktail. So it's curved up in this direction, but at the same time it has a curve in this direction. So stretching an edge is a great way to create a reverse curve, and the backstop really helps with that process. These round over dies are a fantastic accessory for a beading machine. What they do is they curl the edge of the metal over, and you'll have a choice of 4 different radii: 5/16, ½ inch, 1 inch, and 1.5 inches. This is the 1 inch radius die we have on the machine. So I'm going to make a pass on the edge of this, and you'll quickly see what the tool does. There's a stop built into the lower die, and as long as I keep the edge of the metal tight against that stop, it makes a beautiful consistent radius. Precisely a 1 inch radius. So it's a great way to get that consistent radius on any piece of metal that you want to put it on. You might notice that it also puts a slight curve in the metal this way. That's because these dies stretch the metal a tiny amount. So if your goal is to have a straight piece of metal, or to give it more curvature in this way, like you would use for a wheel well or something, we can shrink this edge, and you can pull in either a straight edge or keep going and give it more curvature if you want. So this is another case where the backstop is very, very helpful. So you can see I've taken all of that curve out and actually given it a slight amount of curve in the other direction. Let's give it one more pass. And the more you shrink it, the more curl you get in the other direction. So again, the round over dies are a fantastic tool for getting a consistent radius on the edge of any metal panel. Trick Tools has been a dealer for my DVDs for 12 years, and I have 20 titles out now. These DVDs cover a broad range of subjects through metal fabrication and welding, and countless builders have found them very useful. I can promise you that you'll pick up some new tips if you watch these DVDs, so it's something you might want to check out. I'm Ron Covell. It's been my pleasure to work with the Trick Tools company for over 12 years now, and together we've developed a fine line of metalworking tools. When you pick up the phone and talk to someone at Trick Tools, they will know what they're talking about, and they can recommend specific tools for your application. They also have a no junk policy, which I know you'll enjoy. So I give my full recommendation to Trick Tools. Check them out, you won't be disappointed.